Hello there, and welcome in to Buckets, a basketball podcast. It is November 13th of 2019. We are about 10 games in to the basketball season. Today on this show, we're going to talk about Luka Doncic. Is he a top 10 player in the NBA? And then we're going to go around the NBA, talk about the Lakers and the Celtics, their impressive hot starts, the injuries going around the league. We're also going to talk about the Jazz and what they need to become a next level team. Daniel, I know you just got some unfortunate news about your fantasy team, but yeah. How's it going?
I was too focused on doing my research for the podcast, and I completely forgot to make my waiver claims. So I might not be in the playoffs these upcoming weeks, but I hope it works out.
Happens to the best of us. I forgot to update my bid, and I was going to put more fab money on Brian Hill, the Atlanta Falcons running back, but it is what it is. Things happen for a reason, I suppose. So,
yeah, I guess. I mean, my fantasy team always sucks, and right when I'm making a push, it just
hey, you're in the playoffs right now.
I know.
It's a great time of year. NBA going on, NFL. It's awesome.
Yeah. Cold weather.
Oh, yeah.
I'm loving this cold weather right now.
Let's get into it. Luka Doncic. Do you believe, Daniel, is he a top 10 player?
No doubt. And I mean, coming into the season, we hoped that he would be a top 15 player.
Yeah.
And now we're talking if he's a top 10 player. I mean, he's fifth in the league in scoring, 12th in the league in rebounds, and second in assists.
Yeah.
I mean, that's top 12 in all the the three main categories.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, without Luka, I don't know where this team will be. Like the worst team probably in the West, I think.
Yeah. Honestly, he makes such a huge impact, whether it's finding open players or creating his own shot. We thought last year, some critics said that he had reached his peak. And I always thought, that might be true, but there's so much room for him to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still some things that he can fix. But this year, he's shooting better from the free throw line. He's shooting 84% from the line. And his rebounds went up and his assists went up. He's only trailing LeBron in assists. Like you said, he's number 2. And he's now scoring 28 points a game. Let's look at the top players. LeBron, Kawhi, Harden, Giannis, Embiid, Anthony Davis, Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Dame Lillard. And right around that area, I think I would humbly put Luka. I want to put him above some of those players, but I would put him in that category, and that's top 10 already. But what do you think? Would you take him over any of those players I mentioned?
So I would definitely take him over Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely take him over Embiid, and those are two centers.
Yeah,
they're not really. I mean, Jokic is a good playmaker, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, would you take him over Lillard? And that's a crazy thing to ask.
I know.
And
I never thought we'd be asking. Maybe like 3 years down the road.
Yeah, and I love Damian Lillard. I mean, he's like my second favorite player in the league. And just even like asking you this question is just crazy. Yeah. I mean, he's led the Mavericks. I mean, they're number 1 in offensive rating in the NBA.
Yeah.
113 points per 100 possessions. And I mean, that's insane. Like, he's only 20 years old, or 21.
And the offensive rating you mentioned, I thought that was crazy too. And watching the Mavericks games, they struggle. Like, they struggle out of the gate. There's just lapses in where they struggle to get a shot, and they're still number 1 in offensive rating. And I think it has a lot to do with Luka Doncic.
Yeah, and I mean, he takes over whenever he needs to, and that's what a superstar does, and he is a superstar in this league.
Yeah. And another way he can improve is he's shooting 31% from 3.
Yep.
So, last year he shot 32%, so he's shooting worse, but you just imagine if he can just get that up to like 35 or 36%, if he could just be an average in terms of percentage-wise for three-pointers, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, when he's struggling on three, I really love when he drives to the basket. He's really driving to the basket more this year.
Yeah, and that's another thing that he's improved. His floater game, like that little, try to get by someone and then just stops in the middle and just pops it up. And he's been really consistent on that, and a lot of his shots are going in that way.
Yeah, and he uses his ass when he backs up on
like James Harden.
Yeah, like James Harden. I mean, that's a great move, and he's just playing really well, man, and he's making his teammates better. And they just need Kristaps to do a little bit better, and this team will be probably. I don't know. In the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, like we said, number 1 in offensive rating right now, and that's with, our second best player not playing to his full capabilities, and that'll take some time with the injury, but yeah, it's really exciting stuff. And so for you, you would have just LeBron, Kawhi, James Harden, Giannis, and Anthony Davis above him?
Probably, yeah. It's just crazy to think about, but yeah, I'm not being a homer, but this. No, not at all. The numbers say it, and I was gonna ask you this: you think he's an MVP? He's an MVP candidate.
It's hard. It's hard to say and not feel like a homer, but you look at what that means. MVP, you're most valuable to your team and to what your team is doing, and without you, where would your team be? And you look at, would the Lakers still be where they're at, missing either LeBron or Anthony Davis? I don't think they'd be up there, but I think they'd still be in the playoff mix. Yeah. Seeing as to the defense that they're playing, we haven't seen PG come back. He's coming back this week, but you take off Kawhi from the Clippers, and you still might have a badass team. Yeah. James Harden, I think if you took him off the Rockets, they'd be the worst team.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
If not the league, definitely in the West. And Giannis, obviously the two top leading vote getters for last year's MVP race. So honestly, in terms of MVP votes, I would say it's Harden, Giannis, and Luka. So, they're top 3 players to get MVP votes, and Dame Lillard as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, if Portland doesn't have Damian Lillard, they'll be very bad. And so would the Bucks. Yeah. And, Luka's up there with the best of them, with those two.
I think he's going to get some votes.
If he continues to play this way, he has to, right? Yeah. The numbers are there.
Yeah, for sure. And then just looking more down the list, I think he has surpassed all of these players far and away, above and beyond. He's surpassed Kyrie, I think. He's surpassed Siakam, surpassed Russell Westbrook, Drummond, Trae Young, Jimmy Butler, Devin Booker, and Kemba Walker. I just think he's already levels ahead of those players. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Russell, he did get like triple doubles for the past I don't know how many years. Yeah. But he plays in such a way where it doesn't really amount to wins, I would say. Right. Yeah. And just Luka is so under control, and that's something Russell Westbrook doesn't have. He's never under control, and he understands situations, and he sees. This kid is 21, right? He's 21, and he sees stuff that veterans already see.
He's 20.
And playmaking, 20. Yeah, he's 20.
He can't drink yet. Did you see that picture of JJ and Boban with wine? But
he had water.
Yeah.
But he sees these whole he knows how to play the game, and he's only 20 years old.
Yeah, and then speaking of Russell Westbrook, Luka's putting up 28, 10, and 9. The only players to put up those numbers in a season: Oscar Robertson, 61 and 62, and 62 and 63, and then Russell Westbrook in 16 and 17. That's it. You look at history, only 2 other players have put up those kinds of numbers. And for him to be doing it, he's bigger in stature. So he's not a guard doing these things. He's bigger. He's supposed to be like a forward, but the Mavs put him at point guard just because of how great he is. But it's really amazing stuff that he's doing. Let's move on to the Los Angeles Lakers. 8-2 start, their first place in the West. They have, I believe their regular season means a lot more to them than the Clippers. If I just wanted to compare those two teams. You know, a lot of has been made of who's the best team in LA, but the Clippers, for me, they're more like coasting it, I think. You know, Kawhi's resting on back-to-backs. You know, obviously Paul George hasn't played. And I just think for the Lakers, the regular season is going to mean more. And they're first in defensive rating. So what are your impressions of them so far?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that they want the regular season they would want to play hard in the regular season because they've been so bad for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And they want to show everyone that the Lakers are back, you know? They're back after 5 years, and they're going to probably be the top seed in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And, and they always want to play hard. And I really like, we're going to talk about Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
And he had a really good game yesterday. And he has to be the third best player in this team so they could be the top seed, I think.
I think so, and it's amazing that they've done this with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope playing 19 minutes a game. I'm not really fond of his game, and he's been playing a lot for them, and he's shooting 23% from 3. And then Kyle Kuzma, I think he's really important as well, but he's only shooting 25% from 3 as well, and 43% from the floor. So, you know, just if Kyle Kuzma can get into his rhythm, that's definitely the scoring punch they need because, you know, their defense is there already. And then Alex Caruso shooting 21% from 3. Avery Bradley's shooting 29% from 3. If they can just get better shooting from those players, their offense is going to start clicking as well. Do you think the Lakers are locked in at number 2 for the number 2 best team in the West?
I think so. I mean, before the season started, we were really talking about their role players and how they really weren't really deep.
Yeah.
But they really honestly have stepped up besides their shooting numbers, like you just said. But I mean, Dwight Howard's giving them valuable minutes, and Rondo's back. And Rondo had a great game yesterday, even though he didn't score that well. He had 6 assists, and I really like that second unit now with Rondo and Kuzma out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, like you said, the defense is really good, and I think that's something they could sustain for the whole season.
Yeah. They've gotten valuable wins versus Jazz, Mavericks, Spurs, and the Suns. So they're beating Western Conference teams. So, you know, I definitely think they're going to be at least home court advantage in the playoffs. Are you worried at all about Anthony Davis, injury-wise? I
mean, they are resting him today. They have a back-to-back. Who do they play tonight?
The Warriors.
The Warriors. So, I mean, the Warriors suck, so why play him, right? But I'm not really concerned because he doesn't have as much of a workload as he did in New Orleans, and he doesn't really have to do as much. I mean, LeBron is setting him up for these easy buckets, and he doesn't really have to. I mean, he does have to work hard, but I mean, he doesn't really have to work as much as he did in New Orleans, and that's he's not going to have that much wear and tear during the season, and he would have a long playoff run, I think. Yeah,
and I started thinking, what if they got all these centers, you know, just to protect AD, you know, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard. What if they got them so they can take the bruising for the center position and just protect AD, just have him, you know, do what he does on the offensive end. And, you know, he's still amazing defensively as well. But, yeah, just not taking, like,